What's up, guys? Will back once again for some fight card predictions. It's been a while. Just life has got in the way. My health has not been great, so I've said this before. I'm going to try and get back into the grind of week in, week out, getting fight predictions out there. I really do miss it when I don't have the opportunity to do so. But like I say, some of the things that what's been kind of going on with me, not many people do. But I am at a far better place now than I have been in a long time. Um, so yeah, I do want to get some fight card predictions out there for you, and this is a card that actually really intrigues me. And I've got some bets on the go. There's some lines that I like. There's some spots that I really like. Um, and I've just been sat back watching some of the guys that do this on a weekly basis, and I just really wanted to get myself back out there and do it again because, like I say, there is probably nobody out here as long as I have been doing predictions here a long, long time, and I just feel like I'm letting my channel kind of wither away a little bit, and it's not a nice thing. So I'm gonna get back in here, and we're going to get into it. So let's move into this fight card. I'm not going to start with the first fight of the night between the gentleman from Korea and the guy from China there, Long Zhao and Chang Ho Lee. I've just not really got any interest in kind of going into it a little bit, but I have an interest in this matchup here between Magomed, Gadzhiyasulov and Brendeson Riberio. I've actually got a bet on this one, and it's on the underdog on Brendeson. Riberio was a guy I started watching on just Sunday morning after the fights from Saturday night, and yeah, not super impressed what I see from Magomed Gadzhiyasulov. I think that obviously he's still fairly young in his career. He's got a bit of a backing. He's coming from that KHK team out there in Bahrain. They actually support their fighters really, really well. But when I was watching him, I wasn't super impressed what I seen from, I think it was a 38-year-old gentleman he fought from Algeria. I wasn't super impressed there. Thought he was kind of skirting along the back of the cage and just not making the fight all that entertaining. Was doing more than enough to win the fight. Let me get that out there. But some of the things I noticed, I don't think he's got super high caliber power. I think he's solid. And the guys from Bahrain, I'm a little bit skeptical still with your Gazievs. Mokayev, I think, is a lot better. He kind of comes from a little bit out there and they look after him a little bit. But I don't think he's got a hell of a lot of power. But he is facing a guy here, I think, it's a little bit of a glass cannon. I know I've got money down on him, but I still think that Brendeson comes out here and he can really put it on him a little bit because I think he will have opportunities. It could also be a very, very dominant fight on the Gadzhiyasulov side as well, but he was plus 350. And when I watched that fight, I can't remember the gentleman's name that he faced. I think he was 38 years old. He got clipped in the second round. But Gadzhiyasulov did get opportunity to get takedowns and did do so, but he wasn't very impressive when he was on top. His ground and pound wasn't all that great. So I think he gives someone like Riberio a chance to be in this fight here. So, like I said, I took a stab at him at plus 350 on Sunday morning. I thought this was a spot there. The lines kind of moved in my direction, which I kind of thought it would. Now, like I say, it's not a super confident pick. I just think that this could turn out a little bit of a firefight. And I think Riberio's got some firepower there that could hurt him, but I could also see him getting taken out if he gets hit with the right shot. Because I'm not the biggest fan of his chin, but I am going to go Brendeson Riberio. I'm going to go first round knockout, but I can see why the consensus side is on the Gadzhiyasulov side. But for me, I'm going to go Brendeson Riberio. Muin Gafarov against Kyung Ho Kang. I'm a massive, or have been for 7-8 years, a big fan of Kyung Ho Kang in the UFC. I went and looked at my betting stats with him. I've cashed this guy so many times an underdog, winning far more than I've lost far more on him. But I kind of think in that Castaneda fight, I bet him in that one there back in New York, I believe it was. And he was underdog there again, I think. So, but Castaneda, to me, there seemed to be some chinks in the armor a little bit of Kyung Ho Kang. I thought now it might just be the kind of Mexican heart that Castaneda's got, and he keeps going. He saw it in the Marcos fight recently. But to me, what age is he? So he's turning 37. So he's been around a hell of a long time, and he is dangerous in a lot of aspects. Not dangerous in a kind of finishing capability, because he kind of runs the decision quite a lot. He's beat his split decision a few times where I've been on his side as a dog and kind of came through there. Gafarov is a guy that I've liked as well for a little bit. If you watch some of my I like to do this every year where I pick out people that I think the UFC should sign. Gafarov is one of those guys that I really liked back then. Not super high on him now. But his losses are two good guys. Castaneda, I think, is a solid Mexican guy. Hard to get out there, hard to look good against. Saeed's a top 15 guy. Do I think this guy's a top 15 guy? Absolutely not. But this is a close fight. The line has kind of ballooned out a little bit, so it's like plus 140 on the side of Kang. And Gafarov is kind of bloated up to a bigger favourite. And the initial gut feeling when I was watching this was the side of Muin Gafarov. Even though the kind of betting bias in myself really wants to jump on the underdog play on Kang. So for me, I'm going to go Muin Gafarov. I think that he wins a kind of competitive decision, but actually would like to see Kang kind of win because I'm just a bit of a fan of his. Rinat Fahkretdinov against Nicolas Dalby. Good fight. I saw enough in the last fight there from Fahkretdinov to stay well and truly away from putting any money on him at kind of like heavy chalk. Kind of got away with one last time out with that draw against Zaleski dos Santos. And like he's hell on wheels for the first round, at least first 7 to 8 minutes. But you can get this guy, and he's against a super vet here, and Nicolas Dalby, who is just a cashing as an underdog play, fight in and fight out, and he's been doing that for a long time. Was in the UFC, got cut from the UFC, came back, is now running a 4-fight win streak. You'll see here Claudio Silva, Wally Alves, Muslim Salikov, Gabriel Bonfim. Just a tough guy, and a guy that if you like betting dogs, that if you bet this guy enough times, he's going to make you loads of money. I don't really like this fight for him. I think that Rinat's going to just do more in the first 2 rounds, and he's going to win a pretty comprehensive 29-28. It wouldn't surprise me if Dalby got a split card in there somewhere. But for me, I think that the side is Fahkretdinov. Don't like the high line. Like I said, I kind of learned my lesson last time against Zaleski dos Santos. I think that he wins the first couple of rounds, even though I do think they will be close. But I kind of lean on more the Rinat Fahkretdinov side. Mohamed Naimov against Felipe Lima. Big fan of Felipe Lima. Have been for a couple of years since I kind of found him in Octagon. And I mean, he's not fought the top super caliber opposition out there, but he's been dispatching them kind of with relative ease. And there's a guy that I really wanted the UFC to sign, and I know there was feelers out there from the PFL. They wanted to sign this guy, but I think in the contract it was like UFC only, and that's the reason he's come here. He did have a fight coming up, another fight against Jonas Magard for next month, so he's not coming in here super cold. Of course, he's not really. He wasn't expecting to have this jump in less than a week's notice, but he's a super solid guy. It's up a weight class at featherweight. He's a natural bantamweight, and he's not a big guy. He's like touching just 5'6", but he's very solid across every aspect of the game. I really like him. I was hoping he opened at plus 210. I thought if I could get anything plus 150, I'm absolutely on this guy. I would have a bet on him. It's now a 50-50 fight. That's kind of how I see it. The short noticeness of this fight kind of scares me off a little bit. But I'm not a big believer in Mohamed Naimov. I know I kind of got burned by him last time when he beat Nathaniel Wood. I thought he was cheating his best in that fight, grabbing gloves, grabbing cages, kicking him in the balls. So I'm not super high on him. It's kind of a guy that I thought when he came in against Jimmy Malarkey, I thought Malarkey was going to give him a really tough fight. Was doing so until he caught Malarkey with something. But like I say, if this fight can get down here, there is going to be a size difference with a natural bantamweight to a natural featherweight. But I think that if Lima can get into positions where he can catch a body triangle and win numerous minutes of the rounds. I think he's very live in this fight. So I'm going to go Felipe Lima in this one here. The bet that I like, and I'm going to look to parlay up, is the over. Is it over 1.5 over 1.5 at -200? I'm going to try and find a parlay spot to kind of throw that in there with. I do like that. I think that hits at a high caliber. And then I was kind of looking at maybe the Lima's round 2 sub, round 3 sub, just to see what it was. But I've nothing really has come out here in the UK. I haven't really seen a hell of a lot, but more than likely I'll stay clear of those and I'll just stick with the -200 parlayed up. But I'm going to pick Felipe Lima to win this fight here. But looking forward to seeing Lima in the UFC. I think he's going forward. He's going to be really, really good. Nasrat Haqparast against Jared Gordon. I mean, there's a high line on Nasrat Haqparast, and I kind of get it because to me, Jared Gordon looks like, I don't want to say he's slowing down, but he is in his mid-30s, turning 36 very soon in the next few months. I know when I'm just a little bit older than what he is, it must be kind of tough, kind of getting up in the mornings and going, but he's got a lot of kind of motivation from what previously happened in his life, and he is coming over that win over Marco Madsen. Haqparast he must still be a young guy, 28, so he's kind of coming into where that prime could be in the UFC, even though he's been around for a fair bit of time. I've always liked a lot from Haqparast, and I think he's finally starting to put it all together. Where I kind of see him winning this fight is just being the quicker, more elusive guy. Don't be putting the back foot heading towards that cage, because if Gordon can maybe tie you up, put you in the cage, possibly get takedowns, that's where I think that he could potentially win the fight. For me, I think Haqparast, I mean, he's looked very, very good. These wins here, John McDessie, tough veteran. Lannon Canones, bit of a kind of younger guy, and he kind of gave him a decent fight in that one, but Haqparast was clear. And then Jamie Malarkey got that knockout there. When I was kind of looking at this a little bit, I like the Haqparast side. Don't like the high line, though. He's like -250. I don't really like parlaying that up, but I do think he wins a decision, and maybe the fast hands kind of come in. He could potentially catch a finish here. So Haqparast will be my pick for that one there. Johnny Walker against Volkan Oezdemir. Johnny Walker. Interesting fight, this one. The lines really came in quite a bit. There's a lot of money that's coming in Volkan. I think it's now a pick him. You might even get a +100 in the Johnny Walker side. I'm kind of I don't want to say I've been hating on Volkan Oezdemir, but he cost me a pretty massive bet. I had just a fun parlay, pretty decent amount of money on it. And I think I had him against Bogdan in Paris. I remember watching that, and he just had to knock him out, and he was above him, and he was just pounding him out. And then Bogdan turned over, and he got the submission, and I was kind of spitting feathers at that point. Wasn't too happy, but it is what it is. It was just a fun bet that I had in the arena that night. Both guys are flaky to me, so putting any money down in these guys to me is not a great kind of thing I want to do. I'm kind of leaning on the side of Johnny Walker, and like I said, the line is kind of moving where if it kind of keeps on going, I reckon this will finish around a pick'em, maybe plus money on either side of your play. But for me, I don't really like jumping into this spot here, and especially I've never been the biggest kind of admirer of Johnny Walker even before he came into the UFC. I thought he was very chinny, even though very, very exciting. I think I managed to got on at the right time when Corey Anderson was the underdog to him and absolutely wrecked him to bits. But big fight for Johnny Walker to really keep himself relevant in that top 10 of that division, where Volkan will look to try and move himself into that. But I lean Johnny Walker. I'm going to go him via the decision in that one there. Plus, kind of SBG's kind of taking the fun out of him a little bit. So, yeah. Shara Magomedov, Shara Bullet against Antonio Tricoli. This should be fairly self-explanatory here. I've been an admirer of Shara Bullet. I've wanted him in the UFC for a fair bit. He's had his troubles outside the octagon with some of the stuff that he's done. He was supposed to fight Jolton Lutterbach here, and that was a little bit of an interesting one. I thought the Lutterbach could have maybe pushed him a little bit. A big veteran of the sport, been around for a long time, kind of awkward to face. Tricoli, he's kind of been thrown around everywhere recently. He was supposed to fight Aliskerov last week in Vegas. I think there's been drug bans, there's been all sorts of stuff. The way he wins this fight here is getting this fight to the ground. I think he's a black belt, and we have seen deficiencies in the game of Shara Magomedov. For me, I think Shara Bullet wins this year, moves to 13-0. We'll probably see him in Abu Dhabi later on this year. Yeah, I think he knocks this guy out inside 2 rounds. So don't know what the new betting line is, because this was a matchup we literally put together yesterday. But Shara Bullet will be the pick there. Kelvin Gastelum against Daniel Rodriguez. I like Daniel Rodriguez here. This says welterweight. We don't know what weight this is going to be at, because I think Rodriguez asked for a catch weight of 180. That was turned down. There's 185 been bandied about. I watched interviews today where Kelvin Gastelum just looks like he's fully, to me, he looks like he's checked out, and his betting line is super high. So I'm like, right, why is he looking for a catch weight? Obviously, he's had problems with his weights in the past, but is he maybe, initially I started thinking, maybe is he just wanting to have the weight on him here for a wrestling advantage, which is something that you can get at with D-Rod a little bit, but D-Rod can shirk his way up against the cage, get back to his feet. Maybe he wants to kind of use that extra weight to his advantage here. So he's kind of played a little bit dirty there. They've got to Saudi Arabia, and he's looking to go out there and maybe wrestle heavy. So that extra weight could potentially kind of get him into this fight and win him the fight. And like I say, he has fast, crisp hands, even though he's not had a predominantly big knockout, and probably since the Bisbin fight, which is going way back, probably what's that, 6 years ago maybe. So he's not had like a prominent big fast knockout like that. He's had a lot of fights where he didn't look great. The Till fight, I don't think he looked great. I think the Adesanya fight, that really kind of took a fair chunky soul with him in that last fifth and final round there, where he got dropped a couple of times. And like I say, he's been around the sport a long time. He's still probably fairly young, 32. I think his best days are behind him, and I think this betting line is stupid high. I like Daniel Rodriguez to really, I think this could be a little bit of a kind of sling him back and forth between these two. But I think both guys are southpaws. And D-Rod, even though, like I say, he has dropped a couple there, Magny is just a tough guy to face. Let's face it. And then he's got the Ian Gary one where he got knocked out in the first. I err on the side of D-Rod here, so I'm going to take Daniel Rodriguez. I might bet him plus 200. To me, I think there's a bit of value there. If Kelvin comes out with a kind of wrestling heavy game plan, it might kind of look like a kind of silly bet if he can get him down and keep him there. But I just don't think he's going to initiate that kind of game plan. I see this being back and forth on the feet. Both guys, I think, can hurt each other. I'm going to go with underdog here. Don't know whether I'll get to a bet, but like I said, plus 200. I might take a shot on that. Co-main event of the night, we've got Sergei Pavlovich against Alexander Volkov. I've not got a great read on this fight, I'll be honest with you. I don't like the buddy thing that I'm seeing with these two this week, taking pictures, and they've sparred not long ago. I think it was like 18 months ago they sparred together. And I think that you've seen Volkov come out today and saying like all he remembers is going in there, waking up, going in there, going like just blacking out, and then waking up in the locker room. Now, I think there's a little bit tongue-in-cheek in that. I don't really take that fully seriously, but obviously Sergei Pavlovich is a guy with super immense power that can hurt you and knock out probably any guy, I think, in that division. At heavyweight, coming back after that loss to Tom Aspinall. Big motivation to get himself back in the title picture. Volkov will look to kind of do the same. He can't really afford to be taking losses. But at heavyweight, he probably can, because you can always kind of rebound and beat some of the kind of up-and-coming guys. But he's on a 3-fight win streak. Stoppage of Jairzinho Rozenstruik, stoppage of Alexander Romanov, and a stoppage of Tai Tuivasa. That's always a good look. And if I think where he wins his fight, obviously, if he could somehow get the fight to the ground, I think he'd have a submission advantage, a grappling advantage. On feet, I think that if he can avoid just getting bombed on and not getting compromised in the first round, I think he becomes a very live fighter in rounds 2 or 3. The gut feeling with me was Sergei Pavlovich, and I'm kind of going to stick with my initial first thoughts on this fight and stick with Pavlovich. But I know there's some good people out there. I've spoken to some good people this week that are on Alexander Volkov. They're pretty confident that they can do that and he can do the business this weekend. And I wish them all the very, very best. For me, I'm just going to stick with my gut. Go with Sergei Pavlovich and hopefully he comes through here. I'll pick him via first round knockout. But for the guys that, some of my buddies out there that are on the Volkov side, hey, I hope that's a kind of wrong prediction and you win that bet and win yourself some money. So, Pavlovich for me there. Main event. Interesting fight here for me. Robert Whittaker against Ikram Aliskerov. I'm seeing a lot of love for Ikram Aliskerov. And a lot of good people have got some bets on him. The line seems to be widening a little bit. You can get like plus 125, plus 130 on him. For me, I have probably one of my bigger money line bets of the year on Robert Whittaker. I got him at minus 134. 4.1 units, I think I've got on him, 4.1, 4.2. So a big bet in terms of the way I bet. I don't usually bet big favourites like that, or like bet big amounts on favourites like that. But I think there's obviously a lot to like with Aliskerov, but he's only fought Phil Hawes, he's only fought Warley Alves, and did to them what you should do if you're coming in here with a 15-1 or 13-1 record whenever you come into the UFC. He handled them appropriately, got them out of there. Like I say, flying knee. He kind of got caught by a couple of shots by Phil Hawes. I think I bet Phil Hawes in that fight because I thought he could give him some problems with his overall game, and he did kind of clip him a little bit. I don't want to say wobbled him, but really kind of opened the eyes of Aliskerov before then getting blasted out himself. But this to me is such a massive jump from guys that are top 25, top 30 in the division, if that, to a guy who is a top 5 talent, former champion, could potentially be at the end of his kind of run in the UFC, where, like I say, he's been around for the UFC for the longest time, and he's did everything in this division that he really can. He's won the belt, he's beat good champions, good fighters. And what is his motivation now? Does he want to go and get that belt one more time? That has to be the motivation. I just think this is a really tough matchup to be taken on super short notice, considering where he's came from. He came from Vegas last week, where I've seen people saying he wasn't trying to cut weight. He was cutting weight to make that fight on the third. I think the Thursday night he got the call. He's having to fly. I think it's like a 20-hour flight over to Saudi Arabia. He's come out and says like he has to get his weight on point. And I'm just interested to see if he's going to come in here and kind of use a grappling advantage, grappling kind of type game plan. If he does that, I think that he could potentially have some success. But I still think, I remember watching in France, Robert Whittaker against Marvin Vettori with my own eyes, and I was just kind of mesmerized by the kind of elusivity. He was very, very elusive, and he was frustrating the life out of Marvin Vettori. He was a low betting line that week as well. I remember I bet him, and I was just watching thinking, you're a really tough guy to face in this division. Obviously went on to win that fight, but then lose to Dricus du Plessis. Dricus is a tough guy to face. He's just a bit of a beast all over. He's a hard guy to kind of get ready for. Fought a lot of good fighters before making it to the UFC, and it is shown that he's the champ of the division now. So even though I thought the Strickland fight was super, super close, and we're going to see him against Adesanya in a couple of short months there. But for me, I just kind of see if Aliskerov cannot get this done early, 1 and 2 maybe especially 1, maybe into 2, I think that Rob starts to pick him apart because he is super awkward. He blitzes in, he blitzes out. I think he has to be super careful when he blitzes in, not to get hit with something that can compromise him, not to get maybe hit with a double leg. But yeah, I think Rob Whittaker is just a tough guy in that division. Considering this guy's not faced like a top 15 talent, a run like a Brendan Allen, a Boralho, whoever it may be, Fluffy, Hernandez, even like a Kopilov, who I think could be a tough fight for him outside of the kind of grappling realm. I just think there's a vast jump here. But Aliskerov, I think he's been asking for a big jump. Third UFC fight he wins is when he puts himself in title contention. That's just the way it is, beating a former champion, a guy who I think is 3 or 4 in that division. And this is big for Robert Whittaker. He loses this fight. I think this might kind of be the beginning of the end for him, if not already. But I think he's just a bad matchup for Aliskerov. And like I say, there's some really good carpers out there that are on the Aliskerov side, and I've listened to their points and everything at all, and they think it's just dog or pass. And I get that, especially now with the line moving up to your plus 130, plus 140s. If he comes in here, gets his weight on point, this is a 5-round fight, obviously, so that's interesting in itself, because I think Rob could start to kind of run away later in the fight. So I'm pretty confident in Robert Whittaker, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, guys, that is me done with UFC Saudi Arabia. I'm glad to be back. Like I say, there's been a lot of stuff going on in my kind of private life. I'm being a dad. There's a whole host of other things. I've had teeth pulled out, pains in my gums, pain in my head, hospital visits, you name it. But yeah, I'm going to go into the chat here, guys, just to say hello to somebody, because I've not spoken to you in a while. Dixon Cider, what's up, my man? Hope you're well. What's up, Jason? Broken DJing reached out earlier on today. Glad to see you're still sticking around. You said that you've been watching for many a time before, so I appreciate you sticking around. Like I said, I'm going to try and get these out early in the week. I think I'm going to try and maybe do Sunday nights into Monday, and then by maybe a Thursday night, just come and kind of fortify my picks and see where I go from there. So I appreciate you. Face Man, what's happening? Hey man, hope you're doing good. I used to watch a few years ago, definitely an OG. Yeah, I've been around a long time, brother. But like I say, life gets in the way. But I don't want to let this kind of channel wither away. I did a lot of work really to kind of get my channel started for years. It was 4 or 5 years before I started getting traction on here. So yeah, I'm just on here. Like I say, I do okay. I'm doing really well with my betting this year. My picks have been really, really solid. Not taking it serious of watching tape non-stop like I was before. I just not got the time. I've got my daughter who turns 7 this year. I've got a 2-year-old that's running about just diving off head first to anything to mark his head up and just doing stupid shit. But I do miss doing this. And like I say, that with kind of health problems has not been great. Appreciate again. You still at work? I'm still not. I'm doing something different now, brother. Big Steve, what's up, my man? I'll be catching you in Pepe. If not tonight, it is coming up to 1 a.m. I'll be catching you tomorrow. Hope you're well. I remember Dalby being one of Will's boys. He was back in the day. Glenbow, hope you're well. I remember you, my friend. Sounds like you have to watch tape on Lima here. I don't have to watch tape because I've been watching him for years. I've been watching Felipe Lima for a couple of years over here in Octagon. And like I say, I think if this was a full camp, I'd be super on the side of Felipe Lima here. Like I said, it's not a confident pick. I'll not be betting it. But I do like the kind of under, the over 1.5. It's going to be a parlay piece for me. So yeah, appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can do pay-per-view. I'll be back next week. I promise you. McGregor fight will be at the Sphere. I will go like on 17th on July. Sorry. So yeah. The elusiveness from Whittaker, that's what Coach Santino said. Kelvin said about Robert after they fought, they didn't know what's coming. I think I heard that from Brandon this week. I watched that show when I was doing some bits and pieces here, and I had that in the background. And that was something that he said that, and like I say, that's coming from Coach Santino, who's a really, really respected guy. I think a very respectable coach. And if Kelvin's saying that, but like I say, it's hard to kind of trust what Kelvin says because Kelvin's he's kind of fell off. But still, guys, nearly half an hour in here, I've kind of rambled on as I usually do. I will be back next week for UFC 303. I promise you, I'm going to try and get these out every week because there's obviously people here that have want me to do it. I really want to grow my channel. I think I should be doing more. I can do more. Kids are growing up there, so they're not as reliable on me as they maybe once were. But guys, until next week, all the very best. Take care. and enjoy UFC Saudi Arabia. And it's on at a decent time for me as well. Even better. Peace.